Okay, so
Okay.
just start all over.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So, like content-wise,
Yeah.
You had several different ways that you were having them practice and talk about, and discover. What's the word you used?
Investigate or inquire about.
No, for the learning target. What was the? I can't think of the word. I can show.
Or identify
Identify.
the angles found within different polygons.
Yes. So like identify.
Yeah. And the reason I use that language is also in the standard, like I think standard 4 talks about using the proper academic. It doesn't say academic language, but that's kind of the idea of like within the subject. So the kids do know polygon, they know angle, so that's why.
Okay.
It sounds hard, but they know that.
But right, using those words in the learning target.
Yeah.
And if they don't know that word, talking about what that word means, like vocabulary.
Well, I'll ask a student polygon, and they're like, oh.
Right.
Yeah, we know, but so I've used a lot of, to be honest, like with ESL students, I try to not to ask, I've done it, but I try not to ask, what does this mean? I do it, but I try to ask like a polygon. I don't say, what is it? I might have said that, but a lot of times I try to say like, is a triangle a polygon? Is a square a polygon? Because if I went up to you and said, what's a bookshelf? You'd be like,
right.
You can't and like we don't define it, but we know what it is. So if I say, is that white box over there the air conditioner? Is that a bookshelf? No. Is that that's kind of what I try to do. And with the lesson when I try to talk about, I had a little trouble with the word identify because that is an important word in 4th grade. And it's not the highest on Bloom's taxonomy, but it's like it's like one of those.
Right.
It's the beginning of thinking, so identify.
But yeah, having them think about it and try and talk about it and learning that, like those bigger words.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times I feel like, I gotta keep it, like I gotta dumb it down. But if you use those words repeatedly all year, the whole class generally knows what they are. So. Yeah,
and it's scary to us, but that doesn't mean it's a scary word.
I think sometimes we underestimate what they're capable of learning.
Because like the kids know, like, oh, that's an obtuse angle. I mean, I forgot obtuse angle until I started like teaching math again, So it's kind of funny.
And they know it, and they can use it, and they can remember. So anyway, and then they had on the board. You had them explaining things
to a blind person, but I don't know if I felt that didn't go so well.
Yeah.
I was trying
but it's still a way maybe for them to think about it, right? Like someone can't see what words are you going to use. I think there are times where you have good ideas, and maybe it didn't work well with that class, but it could have worked well with another class. I have it like from year to year. Some activities work well, and then the next year it's a flop. So anyway, I think using a variety of ways, like talking about it and writing and having them talk to an elbow partner for turn and talk.
That was like a 50% success. I had like the video showed like some kids talking about it, and then in the corner of the video wasn't. There was like 2 kids that were like, I don't want to talk to each other. But
so then
that's
the
why
other
I went
thing,
over there.
As I was watching it,
the classroom management.
I just I'm struggling this year with some students, and it makes classroom management really difficult.
Yeah.
It makes centers really difficult. And I guess I was kind of laughing
at Peter.
Just because I'm like, oh, he's like, that's what my students do. That's what they do. They're like jumping out of their chairs. They're not shutting up. So, I mean, I think the longer I teach, the more I realize, like, if I can't manage, like this year.
Oh, and FYI, he was good that day.
Like he's normally okay.
Yeah, he has.
I know what you mean.
He's going to be like. I have to do a case study, and the reason I put it there, and I had him. I don't think it's a good idea to have him sit there anymore. I'm like, no, he's not sitting front and center anymore. Maybe more towards my desk, but I have a lot of trouble with him, and the other teacher does too. So We have him with the counselor because he has some. We don't know if it's Tourette's because he does a few things that are very interesting. So he does really test my classroom. Like my classroom management skills aren't the best, and they're good. I can run I felt we got the objective down because at the end of the activity, but there was just a lot that was unnecessary.
Yeah,
and I'm working on it. I just
when we were talking about the Danielson, that framework. Like, I was looking at it as a teacher, I was just like, I have so much more to learn about classroom management. It's hard. And I think, like, last year, I had I had pretty good control over the class. But this year, we're like 8 weeks into school or something like that, and I still feel like it's just so difficult, and I have to be on top of it all the time. And, like, if my computer bugs and I have to look at my computer, every second, I'm not looking at them. They know it, and it just like gets out of control so quickly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we all always have things to learn about classroom management. But
well, it's more particular cases as well.
Right.
Like that really just.
Like I have one incredibly difficult, which has really challenged my ability to manage the classroom. And when I have 3 others, 2 of them were absent on Monday. My class was kind of okay because I didn't have those 2 who play off my most difficult one. And so it's almost like every year you don't know who you're going to get. And I think this year I'm growing more in classroom management because of it.
With him, the other thing is like in the grand scheme of things, he's not. I don't know how to. He's not that bad.
Right.
He's not a bad kid. He's very smart. It's just. Yeah.
Right.
When it comes to like working as a project, he might get off task, but he's there coloring or drawing or doing what he's supposed to do with his group. But when it comes to direct instruction, it's like every 2 minutes, 1 minute.
So then, what I struggle with is how much content and teaching time am I losing?
Yeah.
Because of this student, right? So
that's kind of why a lot of it I ignored.
Right,
and the other students, because they kind of know him. I don't know how to, like, they don't see it as a big, unless he's, like, really going at it with another student, they're just, whatever.
I've kind of come to that as well. Like, as long as my one student can sit and be in his own world and not talking to others.
And he's getting it. He got it. Like, I did the worksheet. I didn't show the video, but, like, at the end of the lesson, like, we did, like, 4 shapes because we ran out of time. And I know we did it together, but, like, I was checking the papers, and some students still got it wrong. Like, we need, like, a few, they were able to do, like, 3 of the shapes, but one they got wrong, he was able to do all of them. So, he gets it. He knows, and I don't know if it's he already knows this stuff, that it's boring to him. I have to...
right, like that could be I have a student who draws during all instruction time, and then has no problem with the activity after. So it's, he's, like the drawing helps him stay calm and he can still listen. So, and we've talked about in my class, just some kids learn in different ways. And I have girls who, when they're drawing, they're totally in their own world drawing. And so they can't draw during instruction. Yeah. But for him, it helps him. So
I encourage it if it's related. If they have a notebook and if they're talking about angles and they want to draw like a building and show the angle, like, and it's a right angle, like, I have no problem with that. So
I think as long as they can show they know what's happening in class and they're not disruptive.
And if it helps them think about it, I'm okay.
Right.
Anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I decided this week to do direct instruction because I was doing centers every time, and I was like, let's just go. I don't know why. I think I was supposed to do project. I was reading like the fine line.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I already taped it. I already did. So I did direct instruction. There was a project I could have taped. We did after with making a map in angles.
Okay.
But I wanted to try something else. To try something else because I feel direct instruction's like it's the easy go-to when you're. I don't know how to.
I think so too. But
it's not always effective, and I guess that's where the management problems can crop.
Yeah, well, it depends on all your students. Yeah. But, I mean, I think overall, when I started teaching, I did a lot of direct instruction. And I think there's a place for that. And
well, I do it Monday and Tuesday, probably not as much as the video. We still have like a lot of things, but, and then Wednesday and Friday we're doing the centers, and then Thursday we're doing like an assessment, and then on Friday I can look at how the assessment was and get those students and kind of fill in the gaps. That's kind of why reteaching. That's kind of what I'm doing, more or less.
Yeah.
And so every week's the same.
Yeah, I do the same thing every week, pretty much too. But yeah, I think doing the assessment and then having time to reteach where you see gaps.
And I don't think I'll fill in all the gaps, but I'm finding, because from doing that, like I'll have kids at least finish the week. Maybe it's not hitting the objective of the week, but they're like, oh, now I know what parallel lines are. That was always tripping me up. Or I know what a triangle is. Like I've had a few kids like said, okay, on this paper, show me where the triangle is, and they're like pointing to a square, and I'm like, oh, okay,
right,
that's a problem. So like they know the angles, but then I'm just trying to like fill in the gaps.
Which you can definitely do when you're talking about angles, and you put up a triangle and say, and just quickly ask what it is.
Yeah, and that's I think in the class also the shape activity was doing that with shapes. That's kind of why I picked the shapes. Now I know the 5th standard, before we go, talks about like real world. I don't know if it uses the word application, but it talks about like solving things and like thinking about like for real world applications.
Right.
So I just need to think of like the next step, because angles are very useful. I'm just like yesterday in class, a kid had a birthday party. The parents brought the cake. So we had a little mini lesson before we ate the cake about, I said, how can you use angles to determine how big the pieces are going to be? Because the cake is a circle. Well, unfortunately, it was a sphere, actually. It was a really weird cake. But it was a circle, and they what did they do? We said, well, how many people are going to eat the cake? So we determined 15. And then I said, what should we do? And one kid said, well, let's divide there's 360 degrees, so let's divide 15 by 360. I think that was the number. Or it was 16. We divided by 16. So it was the angles. I can't remember perfectly, but the answer is 22.5. And I was like, what does that mean? What's 22.5? What do we do with that? And the kids were trying to give these answers, and they were just like clueless. They knew to divide it by 360, but they didn't know what to go from there. So I showed them, well, let's cut the cake in half, and how many pieces will go up here? Well, we can cut it in 8 pieces. We can cut the bottom in 8 pieces. And then I started showing them with the protractor. If you do 22.5, 22.5, 22.5, how many pieces do you get? Oh, you get 8 at the top. So then they were like surprised by that. Like, wow, that's actually, I mean, not like you're going to do that, whip out your protractor when you're cutting a cake, but it's kind of useful to get a good cut on your cake.
Well, and then just also to have a visual of how
the angles work.
Degrees
and 22.5 is a good number, because 22.5 plus 22.5 is 45. You know, so it works.
Yeah.
And then that made them realize that kind of angles are useful. I mean, they're useful.
Or that you're using them.
You're using them, even if they're not useful for that situation. We use them, and they.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to do that, even tie that into like eating a birthday cake.
Yeah. No, that's good.
For sure. So that went well. Anyways.
Cool. Well, good job.
Okay.
We did.
So I think if you've noticed the pattern, thank you. So I'm gonna shut this off. If you've noticed the